10 habits that rewire your brain for happiness. Have you ever noticed something strange? The people who seem the calmest rarely have the easiest lives. The people who seem disciplined aren't always the most motivated. And the people who appear genuinely confident aren't necessarily fearless. So what's different about them? Most people think personality is something you are born with. That confidence is a trait. That discipline is a gift. That calmness belongs to lucky people who simply think differently. But your brain tells a very different story. Your brain doesn't build your identity from your biggest moments. It builds it from your most repeated ones. Every time you react the same way, every excuse you repeat, every small choice you make without thinking, your brain quietly writes another sentence in the story of who you are. The strange part, it doesn't stop to ask whether that story is true. It only asks one question. Should I make this automatic? Because that's your brain's favorite job, to save energy. If you repeat something often enough, it stops being a decision and becomes part of you. That's why someone who always avoids difficult conversations eventually starts believing they're just not good with people. Someone who constantly puts off important work begins thinking they're naturally lazy. And someone who repeatedly keeps even the smallest promises starts seeing themselves as dependable. Not because they suddenly changed, but because their brain collected enough evidence to believe a new story. The exciting part is this. Your brain never stops collecting evidence. Which means your identity is never completely fixed. Every day gives you another chance to prove something different. Not through one massive life-changing decision, but through small actions repeated until they become normal. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. At first, every movement feels awkward. You have to think about balancing, steering, pedaling, looking ahead. But after enough repetition, your brain no longer has to think about any of it. The behavior becomes automatic. Your habits work exactly the same way, except instead of teaching your brain how to ride a bike, they're teaching it how to become you. That's why the little things matter far more than most people realize. Because your brain doesn't separate small habits from big ones. It simply notices what you repeat. If you repeatedly choose courage over comfort, courage becomes more familiar. If you repeatedly avoid discomfort, avoidance becomes your default. The direction of your life isn't decided by the biggest decision you'll ever make. It's quietly shaped by the choices you barely notice making. So instead of asking, how do I become a completely different person? Try asking a better question. What am I teaching my brain to expect from me every single day? Because every repeated action is a lesson. And every lesson slowly becomes part of your identity. So in this video, I'm going to share 10 simple habits that quietly train your brain to become calmer, more focused, and more confident. None of them will change your life overnight. But repeated long enough, they can change the person you become. Habit 1, stop rehearsing conversations that haven't happened. Have you ever caught yourself preparing for an argument that never actually takes place? Maybe you're lying in bed imagining what you'll say if your boss criticizes you tomorrow. Maybe you're replaying a message before sending it, thinking of every possible response. Or maybe you've spent an entire afternoon worrying about a conversation that ends up lasting less than 2 minutes. Your brain thinks it's protecting you by preparing for every outcome, but most of the time it's only practicing anxiety. Every imaginary argument teaches your mind to expect conflict before it even exists. And eventually, you begin walking into ordinary situations already feeling tense. Instead, try something different. When you notice yourself rehearsing the future, gently interrupt the pattern. Say to yourself, I'll respond when it actually happens. That's it. You don't need the perfect script. You just need to trust that the version of you standing in that moment will handle it better than the anxious version imagining it today. Most of the conversations you fear never happen the way you imagined. Don't spend today's peace paying for tomorrow's possibilities. Habit 2, do one difficult thing before noon. Every morning your brain is watching. Not to judge you, but to learn what kind of person you are. If the first challenge of your day is something you immediately avoid, your brain quietly stores that pattern. But when you choose to face one difficult task first, even something small, you send a completely different message. It could be making that phone call you've been delaying, finishing the assignment you've been avoiding, cleaning the space you've been ignoring, or going for a walk when you don't feel like it. The task itself isn't the point. The identity is. Because every time you choose discomfort before convenience, your brain learns something powerful. I don't run away from hard things. That belief grows stronger with every repetition. And one day you'll realize that challenges which once felt overwhelming now feel completely manageable. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. Habit 3. Keep one promise that nobody else knows about. It's easy to keep promises when other people are watching. The real test is what you do when nobody would ever know if you quit. Promise yourself you'll read 5 pages, stretch for 5 minutes, put your phone away 30 minutes earlier, drink another glass of water, or simply go to bed when you said you would. No applause, no social media post, no praise, just you quietly proving something to yourself. Those invisible victories matter more than you think because your brain isn't impressed by what other people see. It's impressed by what you repeatedly do. Every private promise you keep becomes another piece of evidence that says, I follow through. And over time, that quiet evidence becomes self-respect. The strongest confidence isn't built in public. It's built in the moments that nobody else will ever witness. Habit 4. Delay every impulse by 60 seconds. Not every feeling deserves an immediate reaction. The urge to check your phone. The urge to reply with anger. The urge to buy something you don't need. The urge to quit because today's work feels difficult. Most impulses are temporary. But when we act on them instantly, we teach our brain that every feeling must be obeyed. The next time you feel a strong impulse, don't tell yourself no. Just tell yourself not yet. Wait 60 seconds. Take one slow breath. Look around the room. You'll be surprised how often the feeling becomes weaker on its own. That tiny pause creates something powerful choice. And every time you choose your actions instead of your impulses, your brain becomes a little less reactive and a little more intentional. Habit 5. Replace one complaint with one observation. Our brains naturally notice what's wrong. That's how humans survived for thousands of years. But when every inconvenience becomes another complaint, your mind slowly begins seeing the world as a place filled with problems. The next time you're about to complain, pause. Instead of saying, this day is terrible, say, today didn't go the way I expected. Instead of saying everything is going wrong, say one thing went wrong. Notice the difference. Observations describe reality. Complaints often exaggerate it. The words you repeat become the lens through which you experience your life. Changing that lens won't remove every problem, but it can stop your brain from creating problems that aren't really there. Before we continue, I want you to notice something. None of these habits require perfect motivation. None of them demand extraordinary talent. They're small enough that almost anyone can begin today. And that's exactly why they're so powerful. Your brain isn't transformed by one inspiring video. It's transformed by repeated reminders and repeated action. So, if you're enjoying this video and you want more psychology-based ideas that actually help you build a calmer, stronger mind, subscribe to the channel. Not because one click changes your life, but because the right reminder at the right time can change the choice you make today. And sometimes one small choice repeated long enough changes everything. Habit 6. End one activity before you're tired of it. Most people wait until they're completely exhausted before stopping. They study until their focus disappears. They work until they feel burned out. They exercise until they hate it. Then they wonder why it's so difficult to come back tomorrow. Instead, try stopping while you still have a little energy left. Finish one more page instead of 5. End your walk while you're still enjoying it. Leave yourself wanting just a little more. This teaches your brain that the activity is rewarding instead of exhausting. It becomes something you look forward to, not something you have to force yourself to do. Consistency grows much faster when your habits end with satisfaction instead of exhaustion. Habit 7. Ask yourself one question before every important decision. What would the future version of me thank me for? It's a simple question, but it changes everything. Your present self wants comfort. Your future self wants progress. Your present self wants another hour of scrolling. Your future self wants the finished project. Your present self wants to avoid the difficult conversation. Your future self wants the peace that comes after honesty. Every day, those two versions of you compete for control. The question isn't which one exists. The question is which one you're feeding. Every decision is a vote. Cast enough votes for your future self and one day you'll become the person you once imagined. Habit 8. Practice being slightly uncomfortable every single day. Comfort feels safe. That's why your brain naturally wants more of it. But here's the problem. If you never leave your comfort zone slowly becomes smaller. Soon, speaking up feels uncomfortable. Trying something new feels uncomfortable. Meeting new people feels uncomfortable. Even small changes begin to feel overwhelming. Not because they're dangerous, but because your brain has forgotten that discomfort is normal. So, practice tiny moments of discomfort every day. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Start the conversation first. Sit with your thoughts instead of reaching for your phone. Try something you're not immediately good at. None of these moments will change your life by themselves, but together they teach your brain a powerful lesson. Discomfort isn't danger. And once your brain learns that, courage becomes much easier. Habit 9. Create one moment every day where nothing is happening. It sounds simple, but for many people, it's surprisingly difficult. Every empty moment gets filled with scrolling. Every quiet moment gets interrupted by music, videos, or notifications. Your brain has become so used to constant stimulation that doing nothing feels uncomfortable. But boredom isn't the enemy. It's the birthplace of creativity. It's where your mind finally has room to think instead of react. Spend just 5 minutes doing absolutely nothing. No phone, no podcast, no television. Just sit quietly, watch the sky, listen to the sounds around you, let your thoughts settle naturally. At first, your brain will resist. That's normal. It's been trained to expect constant entertainment. But over time, you'll notice something incredible. Your mind becomes clearer. Your attention becomes stronger, and you stop feeling like every second needs to be filled. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your brain is a little space. Habit 10. End every day by becoming your own witness. Before you fall asleep tonight, don't ask yourself whether you had a perfect day. Ask yourself one different question. What did I do today that the old version of me wouldn't have done? Maybe you stayed calm instead of reacting. Maybe you finally started something you've been avoiding. Maybe you chose patience when frustration felt easier. Maybe you simply kept a promise you made to yourself. Those moments matter because your brain remembers the evidence you choose to notice. If you only replay your mistakes, you'll eventually believe that's all you ever make. But when you deliberately collect moments of growth, your identity begins to shift. Little by little, your brain starts seeing someone who's improving instead of someone who's failing. And that's one of the most powerful changes you can make. Here's the truth most people spend years searching for. You don't become a different person because one extraordinary day changes your life. You become a different person because ordinary days begin looking different. One better decision, one interrupted bad habit, one difficult conversation, one promise kept, one moment of courage alone. They seem too small to matter. But your brain doesn't measure transformation by size. It measures it by repetition. That's why tiny actions are never really tiny. Every repeated choice becomes another vote for the person you're becoming. And eventually those votes become your identity. So don't leave this video believing you need to fix everything by tomorrow. You don't. Choose one habit, just one. Practice it for the next 7 days. Don't worry about perfection. Just keep showing up. Because the life you want isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in the quiet decisions you repeat when nobody's watching. One day, without even realizing it, you'll respond differently. You'll think differently. You'll carry yourself differently. And people will call it confidence, discipline, or inner peace. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't one big breakthrough. It was hundreds of small choices that slowly taught your brain a new way to live. If this video helped you see your mind differently, let me know in the comments which habit you're committing to for the next 7 days. I'd genuinely love to read your answers. And if you know someone who's been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or constantly battling their own thoughts, share this video with them. Sometimes the smallest idea arrives at exactly the right moment and quietly changes someone's entire future. Subscribe for more psychology-based videos that help you build a calmer, stronger, and happier mind. Until next time, take care of your mind because the person you become is being shaped by what you repeatedly choose today.